All right, good evening, everybody. This is SeetherCast, episode 6, I believe. Last week we sat down to talk about holding on to strings, better left to fray, and we knocked out a couple other things. This week we are coming up with our own original SeetherCast album, like track list, like a hypothetical Seether album, just for fun. We're going to kind of make sort of a game show out of it. Also this week, we are joined by, him from Instagram, Cemeteryroamer, or Rusty. If you have been over there on Instagram and you love shit posting about Seether, you have seen this man. Rusty, you're funny as shit. I've been following you for years. How is everybody doing?
Good.
To the point. What about you, Rusty? How you doing?
Hey, I'm good. What's up?
Shit, we are living well. And you, Ricky?
I'm fantastic, man.
All right. So before we get into our hypothetical SeetherCast album track list, Rusty, we wanted to get you in for the last show. We wanted to talk about holding on to strings, better left to fray with you a little bit. You had some kind of thoughts about these themes of, almost like a grim harvest, like a sowing of seeds. Kind of like a death and rebirth sort of theme for the album. I was wondering, could you maybe elaborate on that a little bit now that we finally have you on the show?
Oh, yeah. It's just something I noticed a while back was like some of the titles on strings is like Dead Seeds and Roses. And I feel like Dead Seeds is kind of a different album in regards to Seether's discography. I feel like Isolate and Strings I kind of pair them in the same group. I do hear a lot of smaller type of like synthy noises in the background. But as far as like, I call it like Dead Seeds theme. But I feel like this album was kind of like growth and change for Seether. Go ahead.
So when they talk about like planting dead seeds or blacking out the sun, it kind of paints this image of almost like a grim sort of harvest. I like to think of their discography as being in 3 acts, with the first one being Disclaimer all the way up to Finding Beauty. The middle, the absolute center of their discography being Holding on to Strings, Better Left to Fray, and Isolate and Medicate. That's kind of their midway point, and then the new stuff being sort of the third act. Do you think that was kind of intentional, them sort of having this theme right there at that sort of tricky spot in their discography of kind of turning a corner, or kind of kind of turning over this new leaf or this new season? Like, do you think that was intentional?
I believe so. I don't want to get into, people's personal lives too much, but, I do know that there was a point, like in Sean's life, where I do believe this album was put out after he got out of rehab. So I'm thinking that maybe this album has a lot to do for him personally. I find Strings lyrics to be kind of like The Surface Seems So Far, in the fact that it just seemed a little bit more complicated to me. I can't really put a word to it or describe it, but that's just how it feels to me.
Yeah, well, whereas something like Parabellum deals a little bit more with kind of COVID and anger at like these people in positions of power, and just kind of this general bitterness. Something like Holding on to Strings, Better Left to Fray, it deals with a kind of more diverse set of themes, right? You've got Sean getting out of rehab and wanting to kind of do something new. He wants to leave this blighted, just decrepit sort of past behind him, and he wants to sober up, and he wants to be better than he is, and he wants to do all these things. Thematically, it's a lot going on in that album, and he really balanced it very well, I think. With our little holding on to strings part 2 out of the way, I'm gonna get on to our little album here, and to explain to everybody at home what this is. One of us in the subreddit had this idea. Actually, it was me, but we had this idea to kind of create your own original album. Give us a track list. Give us something that sounds Seether. What does this, this potential album sound like in your head? And I had this kind of idea to port that or graph that over into the show and do something similar and kind of make a game out of it. So here it is. We're taking a break from our album track by tracks, and we're going to do this little thing here. How it's going to work is we have a kind of a master list of names suggested by us and by the community. Just all kinds of shit that sounds cool. We're going to rotate around the group. One of us is going to pick a track 1, the next to track 2, the next to track 3. And we're going to keep going until we get probably 15 tracks, and then we're going to smack a name on this thing. And it's going to be our hypothetical original Seether album right here on the show first. Before we get started, sorry, I'm talking a lot tonight. My bad. But before we get started, if you guys have any kind of cool track list that you kind of daydream about, or if you want to pick some titles from this track list and make your own, please do that down in the comments or over on Instagram if you're active that way. If there's any names, anything like that you really, really like and engage with, please let us know. The whole point of this thing was to kind of get everybody together for this little kind of hypothetical, little game. Are we ready, boys?
Let's do it.
All right. Fuck yeah. All right. We're going to start with you, Chris. You get track 1 because you are our gracious host, after all. With every turn, everybody's going to have an opportunity to kind of pull you, kind of steer you, give you input on what they think the track might be. But ultimately, this opening track is your decision. What do you think?
So I try to consider that usually their opening track is usually the heaviest.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go with Catering to Cowards. I feel like the OG fans would go crazy if they released a song with that title.
I definitely will.
Yeah, and I think it fits for the first track.
Hell yeah, I will happily take it. I meant to make a case for The Trench because that is one of mine, and it just seems like it would be a gritty, fucking brutal opening track. But I forgot to do it. So, Catering to Cowards, it absolutely is for our track 1.
Oh wow, fancy.
I know, it's so fancy. I got the little ticker and everything. Up next is me. Track 2, I'm just going to go with Legions and Scars. I like that one a lot. Sounds like a pretty decent track 2.
I do like that one.
Ricky, it is your turn, track 3.
All right, for track 3, I'm going with one of my titles. I'm going with A Smile for Sale, kind of keeping in line with the mental health themes of the last 3 albums. So Something Else, Wasteland, and Beneath the Veil are all kind of similar songs thematically, I think. And when I came up with the title Smile for Sale a few years ago, what I had in mind was something similar to a sentiment Sean always talks about like pretty privilege, if you will, or just people who kind of use like an image or false sense of self to get ahead, particularly in the music world, and that doesn't translate to real talent. And kind of similar to the opening lyric to the song Tongue, where he says, "The tongue in my mouth is not for sale," just kind of continuing on that theme, but on a more like depressing note, basically like I'll smile or do anything you say for money type of deal. I guess in that sense, it can be similar to like the song "Love Her" from Disclaimer 2. So I would think it would be kind of like a
I could
mid-tempo
see that.
sort of like
I could
track as well.
I could see it being like a third single or something as well. I almost picked it for track 2, coming off Catering to Cowards. I just thought that was it would have been pretty nice. Romer, it is your turn. You get track 4. What you think, brother?
Okay, all right. I'm trying to read this list. I really liked Spineless and Parasite because I really liked in the newer album where he says he feels like a coward that's missing a spine. I just really enjoyed that string of words. It just sounds really good to me. So I think I would choose Spineless.
I got it in there. I feel like that would be kind of the big of this album. We start off kind of with a banger, and we kind of fool around, get some of these other songs out of the way. We have kind of a mid-tempo one for the third with Smile for Sale. And then we have a like blow your fucking ears off, like track 4 with Spineless. Chris, what you got for 5? I'm thinking this will be something, we're kind of getting in the middle of the album.
Okay, so this is where like
Maybe
the
something.
filler songs tend to be.
Yep.
So I'm gonna choose one that sounds like a filler. Hopefully, it's not one of your songs, Ricky. I'm just gonna go with Gratitude.
That is not one of mine.
Gratitude, I think you're going to be in trouble for this, Chris. I think that's one of the fan submitted ones. I was going to go with something like In Dreams, which could be kind of experimental, something like Let Me Heal, maybe, or maybe Inkwell, or which kind of similar vibe with that one, or maybe like Blood in the Snow as kind of like a buried in the sand, kind of middle of the album song. Would you prefer any of those, or are we sticking with Gratitude for sure, locked in?
I'm
It's a
gonna
filler
lock
song.
in.
I'm
I'm gonna lock in.
I'm compelled to advocate for In Dreams. I think that that could be a really solid title, especially because I love all like callbacks throughout albums and stuff. Like because that's the opening line of the second verse in Judas Mind, where he says, "In dreams we escape." So I think that could be cool. But I also like Gratitude as well. It could be a more like uplifting song in a similar vein, like Tonight.
Yeah.
We are locked in on Gratitude. Up next, unless you guys feel differently, I think I might put In Dreams here. This
I
is
like
kind of
In
that. Hell yeah! All right, this is that kind of mellow part of the album typically, so it still fits.
I feel like In Dreams should be another like 7-minute song.
I agree. Very atmospheric, almost kind of mellow. All right. Up next, it's you, Richard. What you think? I'm sorry, Rickles today.
So, for the most part, I'm inclined to pick titles I've created just because, they have a lot of personal meaning and I have a deeper understanding of them. But there was one from a certain somebody that really stuck out to me as being very Seethery and just completely fucking badass, and I might lovingly borrow it someday. That would be Murder Your Maker.
Hell yeah.
I don't recall if you had that as a song title or album title, but
I had it as an album title, but we can use them like kind of interchangeably.
Okay. Yeah, I just thought it would definitely have to be like a heavy track, and I just think it would very much fit in line with like the stereotypical Sean Morgan theme of like, rise above authority and just basically destroy and assassinate all of those who try to put you in a certain box or fit you in a certain mold. And that one just really spoke to me.
I like that, and I feel like it does really fit with that theme of like, oh, like you're no Jesus Christ or something. And I remember, like on one of the interviews with him and his tattoos, they asked him why he got like the uterus tattoo on his arm. He said like, oh, just like remembering where I came from or something like that.
I replayed a game from my childhood recently, and I swear to God, I did not mean to kind of borrow this title, but I replayed Prototype 2. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that franchise, but it does this kind of cool little trope where the protagonist of the first becomes the villain of the second, and there's like a big boss fight with him at the end. You have to fucking kill this guy, and that level is called Murder Your Maker. And I was like, oh hey, that's neat. Anyway, it's your turn, Romer. What you got?
Yeah. Yeah, on that thought, I feel like there's a lot of things that I noticed kind of sound like Seethery, and I was having trouble trying to pick things that I didn't think were already existing or already existed. Like, there's a Bauhaus album called The Sky's Gone Out, and I think that sounds very Seetherish. So, I wrote The Sky's Gone Black, but I also went this kind of route of between medical and physical. So I put words like neuroma and amygdala. Amygdala is the part of the brain that controls the emotions. And I feel
So
like
what is? Go ahead.
I feel like neuroma is kind of fitting because I feel like he would say something is like a cancer, but not in a physical sense, but definitely talk about something in a more abstract way.
All right. How do we feel about that? Are we feeling neuroma?
I don't even know how to spell that.
I'm pretty sure I do. Let's find out. I think that's right. So we're kind of we've got a couple of the one word titles. You don't want to have too many of those because they tend to be a little bit more forgettable. People tend to get them mixed up. So definitely bear that in mind with the next few we pick. We're coming up on track 10, which tends to be kind of I feel like tends to be kind of one of the peaks throughout these albums. And it goes to you, Chris. What you think? I would like to make a case for Wither Like the Rest. I feel like it would fit into this album kind of like Oh Jesus Christ fits into Finding Beauty. I feel like it would be a very long, very atmospheric song with some kind of super heavy like choruses or like a super heavy bridge thrown in there. Kind of a similar pacing or a similar vibe to Judas Mind.
I'll just go with In the Shadows.
All right, that's cool. Something a little bit more kind of lurking, sort of that vibe. That leaves track 10 to me, and is it 10? Yeah, I gave you 9, not 10. My bad. I've got 10. I was thinking something like maybe Set in My Ways for another like super intense kind of introspective song, or maybe something like Chained in Vaulted Halls for something more kind of grim or sinister, maybe atmospheric. What you guys think? Give me some guidance here.
Well, for track 10, I think a potential one might be like Bite the Hand. That might be a bit of a gritty one.
Is that me or you?
That's not me. That must be you.
Actually, no. I think that was a fan submitted one.
Okay.
It gets off very like CV Passion Parabellum. I like it.
All right. It seems you guys have steered me toward Bite the Hand. I'm going to go ahead and put that in. Ricky, you get track 11 out of 15. What you got?
I'm not super married to this one, so if you guys have other ideas too, I'm definitely open to suggestions. But one I did have in mind is one of the ones I made of "Lure Me In," and I think that would kind of be like a softer track, like "Leave Me Be" or "Written in Stone," something like that, because I think title-wise it fits in with like titles of the past, like "Deliver Me," and as far as like lyrics go, I think it could be similar to something like "Sell My Soul." Because when I wrote "Lure Me In" a couple years ago as well, I was thinking uh, something along the lines of like, I've already like sold myself out. You might as well lure me in and make me do things that are even more individualistic and selfish, and just kind of like caving into that like dark side of yourself.
I really like that, and the title itself kind of reminds me of like in the Odyssey, like sirens, luring sailors in, going on with the whole like the surface seems so far, and recurring theme of like bodies of water.
I guess I have some thoughts on this one. I think that if we have another, I guess, sort of lower, sort of mid-tempo song like "Lure Me In" right here, I think that it should lead into another fucking banger of some sort. And
Yeah, I agree.
having a song called "Lure Me In" before a song that is maximum fucking aggression thematically is very cool anyway. So we're gonna ride with "Lure Me In," and you just have that in mind for your turn, Romer.
Sorry, you saying that reminded me of it's kind of like the contrast between Buried in the Sand and Let It Go.
Yeah, something like that. All right, track 11 or 12. I think I have two track 10s. Oopsies. Yeah, you get track 12, right, Steve?
Okay. So, since I can't really see that list, I'm just gonna try to pick ones off of my rhythm list. So I have two titles that are kind of along the same lines. So I wrote "Wash Me Out" and "Drown You Out." I also think maybe for like a slower song like "Regret," I think "Sacrifice" would be a good option. But I also wrote another song. I think this sounds a little bit more 2002 Seether rather than now, but I think "Go Under" sounds pretty Seethery.
I think of all of those, I like "Sacrifice" the most.
I just worry that it feels a little bit too much like some of these other songs that we might get into here in a little bit.
For sure.
So we'll say "Sacrifice" or something like maybe "Lost Again" or maybe "Black Flag," "Lure Me In," leading into "Black Flag" would be cool. Chris and Ricky, I think you guys are going to kind of steer us here. What do you think? "Sacrifice" or
I think we have to find a way to get "Stand By for Your New Opinions" in here, because I really like that concept.
yeah, that's definitely something Sean would call a song or an album. What do you think about that, Romer? "Stand by for your new opinions." Kind of glued to the TV. We're gonna tell you what to think, and you're gonna fucking listen.
Yeah, I do like that. That's kind of a theme I was going with on one of my potential album names. Uh, so I was going for like messages, masses, and stuff like that. Because I know he hates things like superficiality and TV and shit like that.
Yeah.
Just think it's like, oh, this is a message produced for everyone. We're going to sell you this message, and you're going to buy it.
All right. So ultimately, this is your turn. It's your decision. What's your final answer?
I don't remember all the options. Can you guys?
Okay. So you've got standby for your new opinions. You suggested sacrifice, or
I like that first one he mentioned. It was what was it? Watch
There was drown
something.
and watch.
drown me out or drown you out.
Oh yeah, I had washed me out and drowned you out.
I prefer drown. I think.
Me
It's
too.
gonna come down to those two. Okay. I will put it in.
Especially because drown turned out to be one of Seether's most frequently used words when I was
Yeah.
doing a project on Reddit.
Okay, track. Wait a minute.
This is track 12.
Okay, yeah, I'm really fucking up over here. I've got these all out of fucking order. Okay, go ahead with your next, Chris.
Okay. I know we're doing a lot of like one word things, but I'd like to see a song called Blind. Kind of maybe like a Pride Part 2.
Yeah, I think we talked about with the disclaimer video that, Pride was almost called Blind. That could be a really nice little callback.
The band Korn's not going to be happy with that.
Oh yeah, Sean covered Blind and did a fucking amazing job.
I just
wish
saw
they
that
would
for
do
the first time like a couple months ago. I didn't even know that existed.
That's why I posted it in the sub, because so many people have not seen that, and Sean goes fucking crazy in that video. All right, I don't have any objections to that. I think the disclaimer callback is really cool. So up next, track 14. Oh boy, I've got the penultimate, the second to last track. What is it gonna be? Let's throw some options out there. We've got something like Lost Again, which thematically would probably be kind of similar to Regret, or we've got something like, I mentioned it a second ago, but something like Black Flag, which is potentially like a fucking insane second to last song. Seether likes to go heavy with second to last, and kind of mellow or depressing for the final. So that could be something. Better Way could be something. Everything in Me. Yesterday's Secrets. Stand By for Your New Opinions. The End of a People is really cool. We got a lot of options here for this kind of banger second to last track. What do we think?
Out of what you mentioned, I think Black Flag would go fucking hard.
I do agree. I think Black Flag's what it's going to have to be.
Oh
I
my God.
really title.
Do I get the closing track?
Apparently, you get the closing track. I had not mapped this out and kind of figured out how it was going to go.
I want to say Black Flag kind of goes with Romer's thoughts on how, I think you said, what was it? Lost All Control has this like piratey theme.
Yeah, it is Lost All Control at the beginning. It's very it reminded me of like some piratey type thing.
All right, so this is where I want to make a case for some songs more than ever. With your final track here, Ricky, I came up with Lost Again and Redemption both as closing tracks. Redemption is obviously more kind of uplifting, and mind you, this might be the final track that they ever fucking record. By the way, this might be the last track of their entire fucking career. So
Heart attack.
so you could have something like Lost Again, which says After all this, I'm still the same fucking guy. I'm still set in my ways. Or maybe you have redemption, which is after all these years and all this music and everything I've said and done, I've finally healed. Fucking Arthur Morgan, fucking Red Dead Redemption style. I'm finding the path, to be a better man. Or you could have, I really wanted to use the track Lepers for something. Says a lot, kind of about being outcast. That could be it. Something like The Blood on My Hands to close the Seether album. That could have a powerful message of like regret or just kind of this awe at what the fuck this person has done. Or fuck, I could keep going. The No Way Out. I actually meant for this to be the penultimate track, but I forgot about it up until the last minute. I think No Way Out would be a metal as fuck Seether song.
It's not too late to add it. I think that's a good one.
Okay, well, I really liked Black Flag too, but I'll swap it up for No Way Out.
Chris, Romer, do you guys have any suggestions before I make the final call?
Escape, because it's one of my songs.
Maybe like Afterthought, but I mean, I really liked the last thing that Morgan said.
Yeah, I mean, whatever this is, it's going to be. I mean, if you look at something like Regret or even Written in Stone or even fucking Sell My Soul, if you want to point to it, like it's going to be a very powerful, potentially very depressing, very introspective song. And again, we don't know how many more albums we're going to get from these guys, so could be the last track we ever set our tired little ears on.
Well, you may have persuaded me because initially I was going to go with Concede. That's one of my titles, a very meaningful song to me that I made about 4 years ago now. But we already kind of touched on some of those themes in the song Lure Me In. I feel like it's kind of saying something similar. I just thought it would be cool because it would go along with like Waste, Forsaken, Regret, stuff like that as album closers. Just have another one called Concede and just follow similar themes. But seeing as this is the last Seether album ever, and I try to be a bit more of an optimist these days, I would really like to go with Redemption for the final track. And I had considered Escape as well when I was like looking at this list on the side. I thought that would be a really nice like anxiety-ridden track to kind of something similar to Dangerous or Failure, but I think it's got to be Redemption.
All right, there is our mega SeetherCast track list. We have actually let me let the thing scroll back around because I've already forgot what the fucking list was.
Oh, and by the way, another thing I'm noticing now is so if track 14 is No Way Out, and then you end on Redemption, apparently there was a way out.
Yeah, maybe there was a dramatic turnaround.
Yeah, like a light at the very end. I like that.
So we have Catering to Cowards, Lesions and Scars, A Smile for Sale, Spineless, Gratitude, In Dreams, Murder Your Maker, Neuroma, In the Shadows, Bite the Hand, Lure Me In, Drown You Out, Blind, No Way Out, and Redemption. What a fucking monster track list. How do we feel about our fucking our baby here?
Their best album ever.
I can hear it right now.
I think
jokes aside, I can kind of hear how Sean might belt some of these out in choruses, or I can kind of hear the kind of crunchy guitar riffs that he might come up with to go along with some of these titles. Anyway, we are not done. We still have to name this monstrosity. Let me look back at my notes and throw out some options for you guys. First and foremost, down at the very bottom, I really like I Know the End. Again, especially if this is going to be, potentially their last album. I Know the End could be really cool. I've seen the end. I know what's coming. It's time to kind of hang this up. there was themes of that in Written in Stone. Like when it wears down my health, it's time to put this thing away. Or you could do like Ricky. I know you really like Stand By for Your New Opinions as an album name as well. Or you could do like Murder Your Maker and have track 7, Murder Your Maker, be like a self-titled or like an album title song. You could do like Guilt Machine or The Devil You Know or Wither Like the Rest or The Trench or Between Me and the World is another one that I really, really liked. What do we think? Have you guys picked out anything yourselves for this monster album then?
We'll name it Cemeteryroamer. No, just kidding. I feel like Set in My Ways, if this is like a potential last album, I'd like that title.
I do love that title, but I feel like it might clash a little bit with Redemption being the closing track. Redemption being kind of I will be better. And then Set in My Ways is kind of I am what I am. What do you want me to fucking do about it? I feel like those might clash unless you guys feel differently. What about you, Ricky? Have you picked out anything?
Yeah, I had a couple in mind. I really like Baron of the Trench as a potential one. I'm not quite sure what the meaning of that is, but it just sounds really cool. Another one would be, I think The Blood on My Hands might be an interesting one too. I like Look Deeper, even though it's kind of a shorter title because it's kind of introspective.
I think those first two you mentioned are the best that any of us have come up with so far. Baron of the Trench is a me name. It is. I came up with it simply because it sounded cool. But if you wanted to dissect that, it could be this king or this monarch at just the bottom in the fucking abyss. Like, I'm in the fucking slums, but it's fucking where I belong. Like, that kind of vibe. That could be really good. The Blood on My Hands, it could also be something, again, after all that this band has seen and done. And, not all of that being good. Probably that could be a really good one as well. What are you thinking, Romer?
I don't know. It's for me to decide.
I'm really pulling for Baron of the Trench or The Blood on My Hands.
Yeah,
I'm pulling for.
But I really liked the Oh, what was it?
I like Roaming the Cemetery.
I'm creeping about in the cemetery. You might even say roaming.
They should just call it Seether Central. We're all Seether listening.
Just in big fucking words, just across the fucking title. It's like a hyper, like zoomed in picture of Chris. Is the album cover?
Give him like laser eyes.
Listen, if you guys are not gonna pull any further, I'm gonna have to make an executive decision here.
I think fuck it, just make it Baron of the Trench.
Do you object to that, Chris?
No, I mean we can call it Money Mo, Baron of the Trench, Rickles, Romer.
We can call it Spanky McGee and the SeetherCast gang. All right, let's do this right here. Baron of the. Can I fucking spell? Baron
And
of
the
the
crowd
Trench.
goes wild.
All right, listen, Sean Morgan, feel free to DM me. You love any of these names? I got some more. Matter of fact, I got all kind of phrases and guitar licks and all kind of stuff that you can work into a song for free. Nobody will even accuse you of copying anything. Just come to my house. Actually, it's fine. Anyway, somewhat simpler, smaller episode today for everybody at home. Again, we took a break from our track by tracks. I really wanted to play this kind of little game, and I really wanted to include you guys in it. Please, if you made it to the end, assemble your track list and put it in the comments for us, or send it to one of us. I really want to see them because there's a lot to work with here. There's a lot of ways you can assemble this stuff, and there's a lot of room for you to even create your own. And who knows, maybe Sean Morgan spontaneously decides to get back on Instagram or YouTube one day, and maybe he sees some of these things. Romer, it was a fucking joy to finally get you in here. I'm glad we got to cover some of those themes with holding on to strings. I hope you do come back to the show sometime and join us again. Chris, were you about to add something?
No, I was just gonna say, if you're ever bored, go on Reddit, and Cemeteryroamer will be glad to fight you.
If you're ever bored, go on Reddit and just drop the most horrendous take you can in the Seether community. You'll be right at home. Also,
come to Instagram because I don't want to go on Reddit. That shit makes me so mad.
Makes me mad too. Yeah, go follow Cemeteryroamer. I was not trying to just gas you up, Romer. Your account is so fucking funny.
No.
The Instagram reels that he likes are hilarious.
There is nothing to be seen on my account. It's just purely a personal account. But I mean, by all means, gas me up a little bit. Follow disclaimer too.
Everybody go follow Instagram user disclaimer_2.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
I'll have to reinstall Instagram on my phone again.
We could have just called the album Disclaimer 3. Somebody mentioned that. I forgot about it. Little gag name for you.
Yeah, that's like the Disclaimer re-release, like the 20th anniversary. I always just call it Disclaimer 3.
All right. Well, we came in below the hour mark this time.
We, as the SeetherCast, do have a disclaimer of our own. We are not responsible if you do murder your maker. That is not meant to be taken literally. So
yeah, please don't.
Proceed with caution.
And you're only allowed to steal these tracks if your name is Sean Morgan Velkemed. The rest of you, they're copyrighted. You can't have them. I'm sorry. Anyway, have a great night, everybody. I'm so glad we got to finally do this. We'll be back next time with some more guests for Isolate and Medicate. We really want to break it down. I've got just a full list of DMs from folks trying to come and talk with us, and they've got all sorts of interesting things to say. So I cannot wait to get back in here with some of those guys. Aaron Lewis bad. Make sure you go